Unsee the Future.
Hello, I'm Timo Peach, and as part of encouraging creative confidence for change, I am of course talking to leaders and change makers who have helped others deal with the processes of culture change, transformation. How do they do it? It's not easy. I want to find out some of the nuts and bolts involved in doing that, and also the personal motivation it essentially takes. Now, coming up in the show, I will be talking to today's guest about some of those details, the grey area in between the big reveal and the report and the after party, and the inspiring speech at the beginning. The actual change in the middle, what does that involve? But also I shall be asking them first about how on earth they found themselves doing such a tricky job. So who is my guest today? I'm very pleased to welcome to my lunchtime show here today, Annie Talboys. Annie, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You are head of marketing for Seismic. What is Seismic?
Very glad to be here, thank you. So Seismic is an organisation that supports large companies through sustainability partnerships.
Right.
So from B Corp to communication, carbon, reporting, all of these things. So it's about developing sustainability strategies and embedding them to drive impact.
Now, head of marketing, that's a storytelling sounding issue. Is that how you see your role there?
Yes, in part. I think it's about a community, probably I would say first, and making sure that we're inspiring a community, keeping them together, and part of the narrative is developing great stories that trigger people at certain decision-making points. When we're thinking about kind of working with new organisations, it's about, there's got to be a thought, a belief there that my role is to help develop and trigger that into coming to work with us and for us to support it.
Interesting. Now, you were saying that the Seismic has a very particular goal and it resonated with you. What's that? What do they exist to aim to do?
It did, you're right. So Seismic's mission, so it's not my mission, it's the organisation's mission, is to enable 10 million people to join the shift by 2030. So that means helping 10 million people to work for organisations that have kind of impact and purpose at their heart.
That is a lovely big 10 million.
It's lofty.
We can do 10 million, can't we? Probably knock it out. Now, my understanding is that even just by B Corp reckonings, there are different models, as you go on to say, but even B Corp has doubled its numbers in the last couple of years in this country. Is that correct?
Yeah. So part of what we do is supporting companies through B Corp certification, which is a sustainability standard. Please check it out. It's very important, and you may well recognise organisations who's been through it. But yes, the momentum of B Corp and the community is really, really growing. Just 18 months ago, we celebrated 1,000 B Corps in the UK. Just last week, that number doubled to 2,000.
Wow.
So like the speed of this change and companies certifying, when we're just talking about B Corp, is really gathering momentum, which is very exciting.
That is very exciting. That's the word I like to use. But I'm interested to come back, before we go into some of the details of that, to you personally and your move. You've worked in many organisations, but in marketing, in communications. What was the moment or series of moments that led you to want to do such a difficult job like sustainability management? What was it for you?
It doesn't feel a difficult job, by the way.
Does it not?
No.
Well, then you're in the right place, my friend, I think. But how did you get into it?
So, yes, my career's always been in marketing and predominantly agency marketing, so helping organisations to grow, much of a kind of back office role. And how do you find the right customers and clients and do all the good things that helps and supports growth. I then consulted for 5 years, again with agencies, but some of my portfolio were impact focused. That's either kind of having a mission that is impact focused, or they wanted to certify as a B Corp. And I don't think it was like a singular moment, but I had this dawning realisation over a few weeks, months, that oh my goodness, this isn't around the peripheral anymore. This is so important. It's so important to me that I can't just make small changes in my personal life. I need to do more than that, and I wanted to change my career so that I focused on supporting businesses to create impact, so that I could kind of maximise my skills, I suppose.
That's no small response, Annie, to actually want to realign your whole professional working life, train to do it. And you, because we hadn't seen each other during pandemic, and I said, hey, how are you doing when we did? And you went, oh yeah, so I train B Corps now. And I remember thinking, train B Corps, that's a big leap. That's not a small response, is it?
No, but it did, yeah, my initial response to having my eyes opened at kind of the state of the world and the climate crisis was quite depressing, I would say. Like, I went into this period of, this is pretty bleak. And then when I thought, okay, well, I can just sit here and be bleak about that, or I could try and do something about it and use the power that I've got to do something. It also coincided that moment with the pandemic, so which drew me out of it. There was other stuff to focus on and do.
Yeah.
So I signed up to a course which is the B Leaders course, which B Leaders help guide Sherpa organisations through the B Corp certification. But I just needed to know, like, it was an unstoppable force that I just needed to understand it from the inside. Like, why? What's the motivation? How does that work? I needed all of that information to then kind of come out and not actually, like, I don't support companies through it. I did a little bit of that, but to be part of an organisation that does do that and does it at scale, understanding it from the ground up. And it isn't like a challenge anymore to me, or I don't feel that kind of climate depression in the same way. Amazing. I suppose. Yeah. I feel really energised by it, that I get to do something.
And we were saying earlier that energy is a sort of is what it takes, right? Energy of change. It's an excitement, it's a vision, and it does, I find, flip from the climate grief to, but this is an opportunity that business hasn't really ever had before, to try and get into the whole fundamentals of how everything fits together.
Yes. So, yeah, it's both what businesses kind of are being guided to do through government change, but also more and more businesses are just realising it's like the right thing to do. Yeah. So if you have a company, if you have an organisation, why wouldn't you be doing this?
Why wouldn't you, right? Because suddenly you'll have motivated staff in alignment, every role playing part of the bigger story. This is a gift for recruitment, isn't it?
Definitely. Yes, so there's lots of information on the B Lab website, so the organisation that sits behind B Corp. But yes, the data suggests that B Corps are more resilient, they grow faster, and also are able to attract and retain talent, which is just like, they're just more solid businesses as a result of that, but they're also doing good in the world. Like, it's a bit of a, why wouldn't you?
More solid businesses also doing good in the world, why wouldn't you? Yeah, that's summed up very nicely. I think we can all agree there very nicely. Well, the nitty-gritty of that transition, you could describe it as where XR does a big storytelling, big vision thing, and then there's how does that get handed over into our real lives. So I have a question, if I can remember how I put it. I've got a question, I really like the way I phrased this, so I'm going to do it now. You ready for this? I hope you're ready for this. Annie, between inspiring rhetoric and real change, what's needed?
What's needed? So I think a few things need to line up to really create meaningful change, and I think a lot of it starts in the boardroom or at board level for somebody, the CEO or a member of the board, to realise that a company needs to change. That kind of coupled with what's going on in the market, lots of a company's competitors are doing this, and government pushing businesses to get tighter on reporting. there's this, a bit like I had, like this perfect storm that happens, and that's the point where I can talk to them. It doesn't come, my role doesn't work if it's to advise businesses they need to do something. It's actually, once they get to the point of we need to make a change, we need to do something differently, and we need some help to do it because it's a really complicated landscape, and it's quite time consuming. That's where we pick up the conversation.
So you're already with people who want to do it, but then that does sound a bit like a coaching role in a way. You're falling in step with people to help them work through a particular period of transition, right?
Yeah. I think we describe ourselves as like a critical guide. So our role is not to pat them on the back and say they're doing a great job. It's actually to challenge them to go further and harder. And when you look at B Corp specifically, it's sort of a points-based system because you reach a certain threshold and that means that you certify, but it's actually about continuous improvement. It's not just getting to that point and that's it, job done. It's about continuing that journey, and B Corps really celebrate like points, and the higher the points, like because it means that organisation is more impactful. They've turned over more stones in their company and done things differently. Well,
and you've said there that to me in the past that this is so much about community, because sustainability is all about relationships and understanding them much better and putting them together. So community seems a huge part of how you build a better business, full stop, never mind just in a sustainable way.
Yeah, definitely. I think when I specifically think about the B Corp community, our services are much bigger than just B Corp, but
yes, it is.
The B Corp community is a genuine like movement. Everyone supports each other. You see lots of B Corps working with other B Corps. It's like it's a great thing because you have a common purpose, and it's very, very inclusive. People share. People are really open. They make introductions. They do all the things that like you'd like businesses to do, but they kind of really do it because it means that everybody's growing and everybody's supporting this bigger thing. And
everyone's feeling safe with each other. Which you don't often feel in business. It can be very much the opposite, in fact.
Yeah.
And you feel this way about Seismic, don't you? I think that the team around you in that particular business, you always look really excited and light up when you talk about the team. Yeah,
so the business has only just turned 3.
Wow.
And it's 40 odd people, but growing really quickly. And it's a team that's over Europe, like most people work remotely. There's a London hub, but what's really exciting is that everybody's galvanised by that mission.
Whether galvanised, yeah.
I'm relatively new. I'm very early stage in a sustainability atmosphere. There are people that have been carbon reporting for many years and know the details of that, and other specialisms, but like we are a community that has like a common good, a common mission, and yeah, I think that is a wonderful thing. That's a real learning for me, is having a great mission at the centre of your business that everybody is signed up to and believes in, like creates a community, and kind of we are a B Corp, so add into that we're part of this wider community as well. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
It does sound pretty cool. We were saying earlier that actually in a way the sustainability role, where everybody gets it, everyone's signed up though they're doing different jobs, is a bit like doing a TV production. It's a bit like this, or a film production, where everybody's trying, especially at university, everybody's trying the different roles on to see what those costumes and roles feel like, but everybody's a storyteller. Everybody's helping get the best out of you and me when we're here. So it is with sustainability, right? To understand the different roles and maybe challenge each other, but in a way that you know is supportive. It's because you want it to be better.
Yeah, so when I kind of take that in a slightly different direction, that so many organisations have chosen to have a sustainability department, which isn't something that we would necessarily advise. It's like actually sustainability should be embedded in what everybody's doing. Yes, you definitely need people who lead a certain strategy or a team like on a particular path, but actually making it part of everybody's role and their responsibility, like setting KPIs that are sustainability related, targets, bonuses even, like this is really good way of galvanising as well.
Well, I'm going to ask you a very small question to close with. Annie, what is your vision of the future?
Oh, it's a big question. My vision of the future is that having sustainability and impact at the heart of all businesses is the norm. This is just the way that we operate. And it's great having guiding lights such as B Corp, but actually they will have achieved their mission when they're no longer needed, because this is just the way that businesses operate. Like, if we can get to that on a global level with government support, then yeah, that is my vision of the future.
Well, that's really good. I kind of feel like we should probably end on that, because it was such a good point. Annie Talboys, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing some of your input. We could talk for a lot longer, I know. Yeah, so where can we find out more about you as a person and Seismic as an organisation?
Oh yeah, no, I'd really like that. So yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. Have a look, find me. It's just Annie Talboys with one L. And please look at seismicchange.com and you'll find us on LinkedIn as well, and be able to find our community pages from there.
Thank you very much indeed, and do that. So yeah, seismic.com. Wonderful. Thank you for watching for this. It's another look at how we build storytelling into the practicalities of our relationships and our visions of the future. You know that. You've watched me for long enough. I have been Timo Peach. Check me out on unseethefuture.com. Catch up with the back episodes. And Annie, thank you again very much.
Thank you.
And that's it. Thank you for watching. It's the end of the show now, where we leave and we pretend to chat to each other while the music rides. You know how this works.